Hello all, a video to go with my writing about the United Kingdom and the United States, and to paint a very broad brush picture of where they stand in the world. What we have is the United Kingdom and the United States, simplistically put as low savings, high wages and high debt economies. Low savings, high wages and high debt. They've realised the problem, sustainability, with that idea, and have looked around the world and thought, China and Germany seem to be doing quite well, let's move towards more an economy like that, which is high savings, low wages and low debt. So what we have is the attempt by, let's even say, some countries of the world to move from high debt, high wages and low savings towards low wages, high savings and low debt. We're going to have what the world is looking at is a crossover. But of course the problem is the crossover can't happen. There are a couple of hiccups, and I'll just talk mainly of the United Kingdom here. One of the main hiccups is that moving to high savings and low wages, it's going to be very hard for them to service the debts that have already been incurred. And anybody organising the economy will have this in mind and realise that the slopes are going to have to be very gradual. So what we would be having is low interest rate environment, ZIRP, for all intents and purposes, and they'll pencil in probably 10 years to try and move more towards lower debt and lower wages and hopefully more savings. The gradualness of this is obviously going to be a problem. The government will keep on with their austerity because they'll realise that their money is going to be called on more and more, but they'll have to be chipping away at their total debt to GDP numbers, or the bond markets might turn against them. So the government will be going for austerity, and we can well imagine that the Bank of England will be keeping interest rates at equivalent to zero and doing as much quantitative easing, and then new ideas of quantitative easing. They'll come up with new techniques of keeping money out in the economy. Another problem obviously is if the United States goes for this technique, which I think they will, what we have is everybody, as in all the major countries of the world, especially the West, we know what the East are up to, all trying to move towards being big exporters, because the low wages are meant to be so your products are viable on the world market. But of course the problem is not all the countries of the world can be exporters. There is going to be an awful lot of lack of buyers for all these exports. It's just an extrapolation of what we have now. We have demand side problems. The people out there just don't have the money to buy all these exports, and when the major economies, who have been the major buyers over the last 20 years, are swapping over to being savers and low wage types, they will not have the money to buy the exports of even the old exporters, who already have a built-in advantage about the new countries with new ideas about having exporting, because they're already doing it. They're set up to do it. So they have a natural advantage. China and Germany have a natural advantage because they're already doing it. And UK and the US and other major Western nations moving towards trying to be low-wage export nations is absolutely and totally doomed to failure. Somebody somewhere along the line has to be the great big buyer of all these products, and they need great big buying power to be able to do it. and that great big buying power is not going to be there in the world when, alongside all this, the major current countries are going to be trying to reduce their currency's buying power to boost their export potential. The actual buying power for all these imagined exports is just not going to be there. It is a failed idea. It's a tragedy of the commons, everybody trying to do one thing where everybody just simply cannot do that one thing. If the world was going along and there was a small trouble in a small corner of the world, that corner of the world could turn themselves round to being big exporters and drag them out of the poo. But the problem is the whole world, and the whole world cannot do the same thing at the same time. But I think they're going to give it a try. Bye.